want to raise this issue with you as Inland Rail. You're the leader of One Nation. Many of your supporters are west of the Great Dividing Range, good bush people. This is one of the issues that the federal government and the National Party don't want to talk about. It's 1,700 kilometres. It's a $10 billion inland rail. It's supposed to go from Melbourne to Brisbane, but it'll stop 38 kilometres short of the port of Brisbane. There's the picture of it on your map there. All the freight will then be chucked onto trucks to travel through the streets of Brisbane. And they say tens of thousands of trucks will be taken off the highways. The trains will be double stacked and up to 1,800 metres long. That's 18 lengths of a football field. But the Farmers Inland Rail Taskforce says there has to be an independent inquiry. The route is going to impact 300 farmers in Western New South Wales. It'll be a new track when the existing track could have been upgraded for a fraction of the cost and farmers wouldn't have been impacted. Mark, what are your thoughts on this before I go to Adrian Lyons, who is leading the farmers in this protest against what's happening?
Well, my first thought is that the 300 farmers have got property rights. I mean, this is such a basic aspect of how we should run a modern economy. People have property rights and should be treated with respect and get their due compensation. But that's a very hard thing to enforce in New South Wales, as we've discussed on other issues, Alan. So the property rights are paramount. The route should be subject to the minimal amount of disturbance to those property rights, and it should be subject to full cost-benefit analysis, because if you're trying to create jobs, the evidence has got to be there that this is a big job creator. So if it doesn't stack up against other projects, you shouldn't be going ahead.
Well, let's go to Adrian Lyons from the New South Wales Inland Rail Taskforce. He's in one of our studios here in Sydney. He's driven from the bush hours to be with us. That's how serious it is. Adrian, you're saying that this is a disaster for over 300 farm businesses.
Well, it's a disaster because it just hasn't been collectively looked at by the Deputy Prime Minister or the Nationals. You know, we've been trying for 4 years to get their attention, to ask them reasonable questions, to get some reasonable answers. Now, we're about sick of this, and we've tried to negotiate. We've had a couple of roundtables with Mr McCormick. He cancelled the third roundtable at his own call because of COVID. I'm not sure you can get a COVID off a keyboard yet, but so it's forced us to sort of talk to everyone we can. We've talked to the state government. We're talking to the Department of Planning shortly. We've got the EIS, which is about to be submitted, and ARTC and the government are pushing as hard as they can to get this done. Now, we've turned our focus onto taking a legal path to be able to get these reasonable questions answered. And today was a D-Day for them to answer those questions, and they did not write back.
So what's going to happen now? You're taking legal action along with the CWA, I understand. Yeah,
CWA, we're a great union together, and apparently we've made history by joining forces in this part. And we've had meetings in Gilgandra and Moree with over 100 people attending these meetings, and we're there to represent these constituents through the bush for all the National Party, but we're not getting any action. So we've decided to engage Holding Redlick with Peter Holt. The members from Narromine, Coboco, Gilgandra, right through to North Star have all collectively come together. We're a very strong force, and we want to get action with this. Now, it's pretty damaging to ARTC if they're not going to answer that call on the 29th and then again on the 10th. All they want is a discussion with our lawyers. We're sick of talking. We want to do an independent hydrological review, which is paid for by the ARTC, because we simply don't trust what they do. The Condamine floodplain's proven that. The McIntyre River's proven that. The Deputy Prime Minister's funded both of those reviews. We would like the same applied to ours.
Good on you. Well, look, you're welcome here any time. This is a big issue, Adrian. I thank you for your time. I just have one point to make, that Anthony Albanese, the opposition leader, said there'd been an inquiry. He's suddenly gone silent. Albo, you may tell us why you've gone silent. And the member for Parkes, Mark Coulton, you might tell us why you've never discussed this with your electorate. And the Mayor of Gundawindi says they're using flood maps from 1976. That's Adrian Lyons. Mark, thank you for your time. We'll be back again next week. More questions about that high school principal at Albion Park. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, for sure.
Stay
Thanks,
safe.
Al.